Hey guys, welcome back to part 2. Well, I'm going to be working here on these squeeze pumps, here on the fertilizers. And yes, I did get the knives put on here on the fertilizer on all the yetters. I got all those knives put on that you saw in part 1. But every few years, I pop these pumps off and run them up to the John Deere place because they got the equipment to do it. I don't. And have them simply put new bushings, because see, you got these little rollers, and all your newer planters have what's called a piston pump. But these here, it just rolls round and round. You got three rollers. They sit in a triangular formation. Now that I got the chain off, you can see it. But it just rolls round and round like that. You got this roller, and it rolls up those tubes on the back side here. Right here, you got 3 tubes here, 3 tubes here, because one pump for each of the 6 rows. And so there's another pump over on that side over there. But when I put the back plate on, there's an aluminum plate that goes in the back side here, and it's got a bar that goes across the top part of it and one that goes across the bottom part, and it's got springs. And so it just puts pressure against these tubes. Then as that roller rolls up the tube, that's what runs the fertilizer right through. It's kind of like, well, it'd be about like taking a rolling pin, for example, and rolling it down a garden hose. You're going to push water out the end of the hose. And so that's basically the same concept. And so I just got the drive chain taken off. Now we gotta go down through here and undo the small hose clamps that hold these tubes onto there's like an aluminum fitting right down side there that holds it on there, and it'll let that tube pop off that fitting. And not every time, but depends on if they need it or not. These actually look pretty good. So if I remember right, I think I may have actually replaced these rubber hoses here the last time I had these pumps worked on, because they still look good. But like I say though, I'll double check them just to make sure that they are in good shape, that there's no cracks and that kind of stuff. And so I'll go ahead and show you getting one hose here popped off. It gets kind of repetitive after a while, just taking the hoses off that fitting. You see one, you've seen them all. But that's got those 3 clamps knocked loose. There we go, that guy loosened up. Okay, and there it goes. Right there's the end, and right there's the aluminum fitting that simply plugs onto. Then here on the other side, it's got these next set of hoses that come off and go out to that knife that you saw in part 1. They just simply hook onto that steel tube poked up. Done deal. Well, I've got all these hoses here popped off. And I've already pulled 3 of the 4 mounting bolts that hold the pump itself on the frame. This here is the last bolt that holds the mount for the, I guess you could call it like the coulter tube onto the pump frame. They just come out like this. And right there's where those rubber tubes plug onto and you clamp them on. But just keep that, lay that out to the front, out of the way. Get it down. And now, let's see here. I'm down to that one back bolt. We'll get that popped out. I am going to take these tubes here and pop off the hose clamps. Well, I'll take that back. Second thought, I'm not going to. I'll just leave those on because they gotta squeeze down through there, but there's enough room to be able to get it through and just leave the clamp right on the hose. That way the clamps don't get lost. Try to get the camera angle just right so you can see. Someday maybe I'll get me a GoPro, but right now using my phone, it does make it nice because I can record on it, edit the video, and then upload all in one. Okay, that's got the pump coming loose. Now I just got to get these hoses fed down through that back opening without the hose clamps flying everywhere. And no, that's not fertilizer in there, that's just plain old water. What I do when we're done planting corn is I take and I take the garden hose with one that I've got a big, and there we go. I've got kind of like a, it's a big brass nozzle. It's about that long, and it's just a great big point stream, and it really does a good job. But yeah, like I say, when we're all done with corn, I'll take that, wash the whole entire planter all down, hose it all out, and then I put water into all the fertilizer tanks, open up the valves, and I run water through the entire system. And that way it flushes all the fertilizer, all that junk out. And because that stuff's very corrosive. And so, but yeah, there's one pump. And like I say, here on the ends is there's a bushing in there, and one on this end on the main drive shaft, and then each one of these rollers here that roll around and roll on that on those black tubes I just disconnected right there. There's a bushing on each end of these as well. And so, like I say, I just have John Deere put new bushings into it. Because you can see right here, well, not really on that roller, you can on this one right here though, where the middle roller right here had actually begun to hit. And so that means you're getting a little bit of wear. And of course, always grease the pumps up every day. And generally we'll grease them up after about 80 acres or so. We always will re-grease them. and but still you get a little bit of wear into it. But yeah, like I say, we always just run them up to John Deere and let them stamp new bushings in, because they got the equipment to do it. Whereas I don't have any of that stuff, and for no more than what it cost to have them do it, I might as well just have them do it, done deal. And because like I say, I'm guessing it's probably about, every 3 to 4 years we pop them off and have them do it. So it's not like it costs a boatload to pay them to do it. So it makes it a whole lot simpler. And I'm over here on the right hand side of the planter now. I've got this pump here almost ready to come off. Get this last bolt here out on the top. And it's just like over on the left hand side where you just saw. And there went my lock washer bouncing down. But other than that, same concept. It's got 4 bolts that hold the pump itself to the frame. And then you just got to take the hoses and that kind of thing off. So we'll just lay that back here out of the way. I was surprised when I tipped some of these tubes down. No water came out. But, oh well, no big deal there. Because I hate that fertilizer getting all over everything. In fact, actually, I'm kind of glad I'm pulling this pump here off to begin with. Because if I remember right, last year, for some reason, I don't know if I think just by the looks of it, it was on this tube right here. But for some reason, I need to double check that hose. I've already double checked the hoses on their side. They were all good. But I think a clamp had kind of worked its way loose. And even though I took water and washed it all out and everything, you can still see some of the pitting on that roller from the fertilizer. Okay, got that last bolt right there. Because we actually just run a straight 28% through here. And we run a pop-up fertilizer to help make up for not running starter. And the pop-up is actually put through the in-furrow seed firmers. That's what that manifold deal is, that gauge right there up on top. Got the 12 little lines that come down. Main line comes from up here on the front. I put small saddle tanks in the tractor. And then I have an electric pump that I mount on top of the PTO cover. Then it hooks in, pumps back to the manifold, then goes out to all 12 of the in-furrows. That's what these orange lines here are for. And actually, back when we got this planter back in 2007, it had the Keaton seed firmers on it. Let's get this thing out of here. And some guys like them. I hate those things. And the reason why is every time you'd set the planter down to like fill up to check your boxes or to fill up with seed, that kind of stuff, the Keaton, they hang so far down or out from the gauge wheels that it would actually take and jam up in between the double disc opener. And so I took them all out. Well, when we started running... Okay, that got all them off. And right there's the pump. And so we're good to go on that. Just take and tuck these lines up there out of the way. And we're good to go until we get the pumps put back on. But like I was saying, I'll show you here on the back, regarding those Keaton seed firmers. Up underneath here, like I say, is where they'd go and they'd jam up in there in between the double disc opener. And so that's why I took them out. Well, if I remember right, I think it was 2011 that we started running pop-up, and I started doing a little hunting around, and instead of Keaton, I went with the Schaffert seed firmer, and we've liked it. They've worked great. Right there they are. They don't hang down very far. They simply just brush right across the top of the seed. You got that little Y piece coming down there. That's where your fertilizer comes out of that little tube. And they work good. The Keatons, the way they actually fit in there, it was really hard to get the seed tube out. Now on some of the newer setups, I think they do have more room to let you pull a seed tube out. These Schafferts, however, simply take and zip tie right on the seed tube. And so if you need to pull the seed tube out, it's actually really simple. You just simply take the seed tube out, and if you actually need to change the tube, you simply take and cut the two zip ties off and put the Schaffert over onto a different seed tube, and somebody just drop it right back down in there. It's no, like I say, it's real simple setup, no big deal. You can get the tube in and out easily, no hassle at all. And so I really like the Schaffert. Works a lot better than the Keaton from my experiences. But some people like the Keatons, and if they get along okay with them, fine. But yeah, like I say, for example, if the planter's sitting right here and you just simply want to drop it straight down to fill a seed, that's what would cause the Keaton to jam up inside and get stuck in there. And then of course it's going to mess everything up. But yeah, I think I'm going to call that an end to here to part 2, and let's get the pumps off. And I've already checked press wheel bearings, we're good to go there. I've got to go across checking gauge wheels and that kind of stuff, so I may bring you back in for a part 3 on that. We'll just have to see what happens. So take care, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.